Hello everyone, here's my review for Shrek Forever After. I feel like this film is considered pretty mediocre by most people and probably on level, if not a little bit better than Shrek the Third, but I think it's actually pretty decent. Like Shrek the Third, I don't think I've ever actually seen Shrek Forever After all the way through. I remember parts of it, but I probably saw it on TV as a kid or something. We never had it on DVD or anything. Of course, like I've been saying this whole time, the animation just continued to improve with these movies. This film looks leagues better than Shrek 1 did, and that movie already looked great. The lighting effects, and especially you can notice it with the fur on Donkey, which looks much, much better. The voice acting also remains great, as it has throughout these films. Although I think Shrek Forever After is probably the least funny of these first four movies. It's not an unfunny movie, it just has less jokes, I think, and I think it has the most jokes that don't land. But in terms of writing, it's definitely a step back up from Shrek the Third, even if it's not quite where Shrek 1 and 2 were. Considering this was supposed to be the last Shrek movie ever, which is kind of weird to think about these days, but when you take that into account, I think the idea of this story is actually pretty neat. Because a lot of it is paying homage to that, especially the first movie, but the series as a whole. A lot of the film takes place in an alternate reality where Shrek was never born, and you get to see just how different things would have been. And that's the thesis of the film, is that his struggle through his midlife crisis shows him that he is valued. Rumpelstiltskin is definitely a step back up from Prince Charming as well. He's a much better villain. I don't think he's quite on level with either the fairy godmother or Lord Farquaad, but he's definitely better than Prince Charming was. He's actually memorable. His plan adds urgency to the main plot, and I think he's like hateable, but in a good way. Shrek's arc is maybe not quite as powerful as it could have been, especially with what they're dealing with in this film, but it's definitely solid. The whole idea of Shrek going through a midlife crisis is thematically relevant, and I think these four movies actually have a really nice through line about life, told from the perspective of an ogre, of course. I think there is something a bit odd to the fact that Shrek is the only main character to actually experience the events of this film, though. I think it does something to the emotional stakes of the film to have nobody else remember what happened, because by the time you get to the end and Shrek has resolved the main conflict, Fiona just asks him, "Are you okay?" And he says yes. And I can't quite put my finger on why that isn't great, but I think it hinders the emotional stakes of the film. Not by a margin that ruins it by any means, though. It's just a little bit off. And obviously, it makes sense with how that main conflict works. Of course, nobody else would remember it. I'm not complaining about it being illogical, but it just feels off for the story. But I do think the alternate reality idea is actually used to interesting effect here, unlike how it's used these days in a lot of other franchises. Obviously, there's one in particular I'm looking at, but here it's actually used to emotionally develop a character. So with that, I'm going to give Shrek Forever After a 7 out of 10. It's not great, but I'll take it over Shrek the Third any day of the week. And I would actually say maybe it's a little bit underrated. But I'm curious what you think of Shrek Forever After, so let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you all in the next one.